All right, this week we are here with Tim Harvey. I believe he's been on the podcast a few times here. We're just catching up with him here at the end of turkey season. He joined our turkey challenge, and as of right now, this is Friday night, 5:29. He is sitting on the leaderboard with his big-ass bird that he shot that had a double beard. So at the moment,
Yeah.
he's leading things off with that, and got him on here to catch the backstory and maybe chat about a couple other things on top of that. And as long as your numbers hold, you'll be winning the overall big bird of the challenge. So
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it's always cool, but wasn't expecting that. You never
yeah,
know.
a double beard is definitely a very, like, I think I've seen maybe one or two of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's
not very
you know.
often. I've seen some guys shoot like triple or quadruple bearded birds, and it's like, where the hell do these things come from?
Well, this thing was just a big bird too. I mean, the actual head of the turkey. That actually impressed me more than anything else. The weight, it was. I mean, everything was good on it, but the head was like it was like as big as your fist, and I'm not. It was like looked goofy. It was so big. You know, just a big bird, and I saw the beards, and I mean, I've got thicker beards, but that one, it's the first one with a double I've ever got. But this is a smart bird. He was very wary and stuff, very very difficult. He was smart, but we were after him last year, or one just like him. You never really know because they don't have horns on their head to really tell for sure. But
Right.
he was roosting out of the same area, just very difficult, very wary. So he screwed up, and to my benefit. So
I was looking at our sheet here, and our sheet says that there was 21 inches of beard on that bird.
yeah, yeah, there was an inch and a quarter spurs on it. Big body, a heavy bird, just without a doubt the best bird I ever got. I know I've said that, but the taxidermist is loving me this year. He's going to put an addition on between my deer season and my turkey season. So yeah, this one's going to be mounted. So
Nice.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah. What did you get a weight on that thing or no?
it was. We had a rough way between the taxidermist. I talked to him, and he was saying 23 to 25 pounds. So I was calling it 23. Chris got a weight on his, and he had 20 or 21 pounds. I forget what he told me, and I know mine was heavier. I mean, by feeling it, I could tell it was heavier. So, you didn't need one for the contest, and then I forgot to get it before I took it to the taxidermist, and I'm kind of bummed. But the taxidermist he's quite a turkey hunter. The Cliff Weitzel there from Whitetail Creations there in
Yeah.
Holcomb, giving him a little bump there. But he said that's a heavy bird, and but like I say, it's just I'm happy to get it. It was a great hunt, and I've never done length. I didn't realize you did a length. Is that something they do in a lot of contests, or is that just something you made up?
Well, it's something that came about in the last, I'm sure people have done it in the past, but in the last couple of years, um, following along with the hunting public on YouTube, they call it the Long Bird
Right.
Challenge.
Okay.
So it's just kind of something fun and different. Um,
Yeah, it is. It is.
my bird measured at like 48 and 3/4.
I think that's what mine was. Yeah, 48 and a half I got is what I
Yep,
got
yeah.
on mine. So yeah.
I was hoping we were counting the snood because I was over 50, and that's just a freaking giant, but we weren't counting the snood. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, my bird, I actually stepped on the scale with it. It was 23 pounds.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Nice.
could tell you. I
Yeah,
could tell he had some heft to him.
I'd say, to me, you get to the 20-pound mark, and that's a hell of a bird.
Yeah.
Honestly, even 19 pounds. I mean, that's all good stuff. A mature bird.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's ringing.
Billy just invited
Did you hear
himself
that?
into our goddamn podcast.
What? You can't do that, can he?
What? What?
Oh, what? What?
We got a mic issue. Sorry, I just came in and blew this thing right up, didn't I?
What
Yeah,
you
you
got
did.
there?
We
Don't
had
be
good
pointing that in my direction.
We had good conversation rolling before you came in.
Oh, bitch.
We were just talking about the turkeys we've shot. How are you doing?
I prefer I just like to call them in. I like the sport of it, you know?
Like to tease them.
Yeah.
And scare them?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I cannot.
So, Tim, let's get the story on this bird. We just did a little bit of the backstory on it and some of his measurements and how big he was. But let's start in the beginning here and get the story from it.
Yeah, well, this is a piece of property I hunt deer at in Geneseo, and right down the bottom is down near the river, and it's kind of brush and wooded. Sad area, you know, where I found that dead body shed hunting. But that's a whole other story.
Oh.
But
Yeah, we wouldn't want to talk about that or anything.
No,
we don't want to get into that right now, right? So we've been we hunt there a lot, and they roost right on the edge of the river a lot of times, which is pretty cool. But this year they had roosted across the river and then back up the hill towards 20A. And we went there a couple times in the morning. There's other hunters on other properties, and but nothing right down in the river. So we just kept going and listening. And I finally got enough pressure from the other areas. We saw them in the field in the evenings. Me and my buddy were watching, and we said, hey, the bird was right out strutting a couple times during the week and then flying up with the hens. I said, they got to be roosted right there by the river. So it was, I think it was a Sunday morning. We went there, the 17th, I believe it was, of May. I think that was a Sunday. We went in there early. It's a funny lay of the land because it's brushy, comes down the hill, and there's a tractor path that goes along the brush and I don't even know what to call it, woods. And then the river, there's a field there, cornfield, and the river juts in and narrows it down, then it gets wide again. And that's right where they roost. It probably isn't 60 yards wide. We had to get in early, and I wanted to split up because we had tried to work him the morning before, and he was really wary. So they got down. He was gobbling early, and they came down in the field, and the hen was there, and there was a couple of hens. One was in the roost still, and one was on the ground, and he was gobbling and talking. I had a decoy out, and I just was mimicking the hen, just a couple, clucking and putting, and he just stopped gobbling and looked over my decoy, and he was probably 60 yards away, roughly off to the north of me a little bit, and he just kind of folded up and just like walked away. And I'm like, what the hell? Then he went off and he flew across the river. I mean, he's just very wary. I mean, I don't know what set him off because there's other couple of hens talking, and apparently I just set him off. Something wasn't normal to him. He just super sketchy and wary. So I said the next morning, let's split up and my buddy Tyler, I said, you want to get on the other side in the morning there, or do you want to, I had a spot picked out already. I said, do you want to stay here? I said, we'll get them, call. I wanted to get to the north to get him the way he wants to work. So he said, well, you know where the spot is. And just so you know, I gave him the opportunity to go on that side, and he didn't want to, or he gave it up. So I went over, we went in early, probably 4:30, and walked in, and he sat down, and I kind of had to walk past where I figured the bird was, and then cross the cornfield, and then come back, and it's really, he's in the trees there. You can't quite see him because it's dark. And I found my spot, and it always seems better when you try to pick a spot out than what it ends up being. There was a tree there, and I said, well, I can lean against that tree. There was a bunch of briars and brush there, and I didn't want to make noise and try to get further back in. So I'm like, not quite to the tree, but the river is behind me about 10, 20 yards. It drops off, and the field's 5 foot in front of me. and I've got one of those turkey vests that's got a seat built into it where if you got it adjusted right, you know, if you have it adjusted right, you can kind of, it'll hold you up and support you. I did not have it adjusted right. So I was like in the kick back mode, too far back, but it was dark out. I'm like, well, I'll just sit here and wait for him to gobble. I'm like almost, laying back all the way. And he started gobbling at 5 o'clock, and he just kept gobbling and gobbling. He's right to my right, down in the bunch of mature trees on the edge of the river. And I remember I said that there's no way I'm going to be able to hold myself up. This is going to be like a major core and abs workout to try to hold myself upright with a gun. So I was kind of half upright, and I like held my knee with my left arm, had the gun on my right knee, if you can picture this, and had one arm on it. And I just had it, I was kind of far back enough in, I couldn't ever see him, but I knew where he was. And I knew he was to the right of me. And at one point he flew down. As soon as he hit the ground, he stopped gobbling. And after 5 minutes or so, because I heard the wings flapping and I couldn't see anything. After 5 minutes, I texted my buddy, which I didn't want to do and be caught off guard because I couldn't see out in the field and down to my right where I knew he should be. I texted him. I said, where is he? He's like, he's in the trees, in the grass by the right where he was roosted. I'm like, okay. So then he sent another quick text. The hens are still in the tree. And I said, okay. So I sat there and waited. Then I heard wings flapping. I look, and one of them flew across the river, and the other one flew down the river and out behind me and back into the field. She hit the ground, and then she started putting and clucking, and I took the call. I had that wedged against my leg, and I started doing a couple putts and clucks, and he gobbled a couple times. I knew he was coming towards me. I just set the call down, and he come right up by me and to me, and I saw him. He was probably like 15 feet away. He just walked out, and I was he was so close, and I was like, well, let me get him a little closer. I'm like, what are you waiting for? Just pop him. And I shot him and dumped him with one shot there. But I had been holding myself up. I just kind of laid over and collapsed for a minute, laid on the ground. I was so beat after trying to hold yourself upright.
So
it was the most awkward position.
Which hand were you using to operate your call on your cell phone while you were holding your gun and holding your leg?
Yeah. Well, I abandoned the cell phone. The cell phone was
third arm, or what was that?
Well, you don't want to know. I'm very talented. No, I had the gun on my knee, so I'd let go of it with my right hand, the gun, and keep it propped. And then he was texting me back. It was vibrating, and I'm like, I'm not even answering it. And I'm holding myself up like this. And I got the one hand on the gun. I'm like, you better make sure you got shoulder good, because I had 3-inch mag and one hand on it. And it was, I'm glad I didn't have my single shot little partner there with the 3.5 inch. That would probably clip me in the face.
I was wondering if you wish you had that single shot. What is that, a 10 or a 12 gauge?
That's a 12, but good God, it rocked you, dude. I remember the first time I ever shot it. It come up by me, and the hammer just went by my face. I caught it back here, like I've never had to grip a gun so bad. It was. To go to another quick story. After that, I said, well, I got to practice shooting this thing a little bit more. So I set up in the field of the target, nothing behind me, and I'd shoot. Boom! And you'd fall over backwards. You couldn't keep your balance. It's a great gun to carry around the woods all day, but you're almost better off shooting 2 3/4 or maybe 3s out of it, not 3.5, man. They rock you. They go like a toy gun, and then you shoot like a cannonball out of it, But,
Did you call to that bird at all, or did you just ambush?
I did 1 or 2 putts and clucks and stuff, but then I couldn't even see him. And then I just sat there. I knew the day before he went north, and it was as much of an ambush. I mean, I putted and clucked a little bit, like the one. It worked out in my favor because she went down the river and then come back out in the field and it landed. And then so I did a couple, then I just stopped because he was just so smart. It wasn't as much an ambush as anything, honestly. you
So
know.
that was no calls on roost, and then just a couple when she landed in the field and did a couple.
Yeah, he gobbled his ass off from 5 to 5:24. I mean, I was counting, it would be 6 seconds, then 18 seconds. I mean, not much more. He never went 30 seconds.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. He was so fired up. And, but then like when he hit the ground, he stopped gobbling. And, but, you know, we've worked a couple good birds in that area before. And, you know, that was 2 years ago. You don't know if it's the same bird or not because it was a nice bird, but they're just very, very sketchy and smart, you know, and wary, I guess, maybe as much as smart, you know. But
Yeah,
I shot a real nice bird. What's that?
They got a quick escape there too. They know, you know, if anything ain't right, they can just jump the river, and you know they've done it to you several times.
Yeah, you know, last year I was calling. I had my buddy Tyler and his son with him, is doing a youth hunt, and I had the birds on the other side of the river, on the Lester side, and I had 3 good birds. You know, I say, you know, 2-year-old, whatever, you know, 6-inch beards, whatever, on the other side of the river, and I could see them, and I wanted them. I go, if they're gonna fly across, should come this one opening where Tyler and his buddy was. He was to my left 20 yards. And they wouldn't cross. I'm like, what? It's gonna be. You can't even hardly get them to cross a creek or a fence row, much less a river. So I said, they're gobbling their ass off. I was looking over a little berm and I could see them. And then so I said, well, the hell with it. I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna belly crawl away in the winter wheat field and make them think the hen's leaving. Maybe I can draw them out and they'll fly to that nice open spot by my buddy. And I start belly crawling away. And as I look over my buddy, and he's like waving. Tyler's waving. I'm like, what? And I turn on. They had flown across before I could even get out. Of course, I figured, well, I'll leave my gun because I don't need it and I can travel quicker without it. They flew out on the other side of me, so he couldn't shoot. And then 1, 2, 3, they popped up, walked out of the brush there by the river, and then they saw me in the middle of the winter wheat field and turned and flew back. I'm like, motherfuck. I called 3 birds across the river, but you couldn't, you know, I screwed up and I wasn't ready. So, but that is it's really unique, tough spot there, but there's usually always birds there too, you know?
Yeah. I always struggle with, you know, how much to call them. It's like they're on roost, just gobbling. It's like, what do you want to do when you hear a gobbling bird? You want to call that thing. And it's like, you know, even this morning I sat there and just, there had to have been 30 roost gobbles. And I'm just sitting there waiting. And it's like, I'm not even going to say anything. I was going to go for an ambush, but I ended up kind of talking to the bird all morning, and he was just very responsive. So I just kind of stayed in touch with him, but didn't push him.
What were you saying?
Yeah.
And he finally broke. So, but I'm going to save that whole story for another time.
What do you mean you're going to save it?
Because we're going to do another Breeding Them Radio, even though you told us we're not going to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's your thing. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, you were just trying to shut it down last week. You were like, this is our last Breeding Them Radio. I'm like, well, we still got another week of turkey season here.
Freaking tired, Jim. I'm tired of your bullshit is what I'm tired of.
You're tired of good ratings?
This late Wednesday night. Oh, the recordings are done. It's 9:30 at night. Get it posted, Willie.
Some of us are still working, you know?
Yeah, well, okay. You come over here and tell me this ain't work. I worked more hours than you did today.
That's right, because I didn't work at all. I turkey hunted.
Yeah.
I worked.
Cheers to that.
So you flipped him right over, and that was that, huh, Tim?
Yeah, I dumped him. And actually, I think I shot a little high, because if I had been dead on, I would have blown his head clean off at the distance I was at. And but he just dropped, and I knew he was a mature, good bird, but I didn't realize how big he was. And it's cool. I said I shot probably my other biggest bird at that exact same location, different setup and everything, but they were roosting the same trees right on the edge of the river. And he had hens and went up by me away, and there's too far to shoot. And once they got by me, the hens were feeding around. He was just strutting, following them. They got by me, and I was just started messing around with my box call, just mimicking the hens, just putting, clucking. And I could look through, I was leaning against the hedgerow, and I could look through the brush, and I could see the hens coming down. I go, shit, the hens are coming to me. And I had my gun up, and after I got him calling, I didn't have a box. I don't know if I had a mouth call. I must have had a mouth call, actually, because I couldn't have had the box call then. I had the gun up, and I go, holy shit, the hens are coming. And I was on the edge of that tractor path, and the hens walked by and just, looking for the other hen, and here he was strutting, walking by me. I shot him at, 15, 20 yards. And he was a fantastic, beautiful bird. And it's one of those after the fact, you're like, I should have mounted that. He was strutting, and such a good-looking bird. And then I always regretted that I didn't mount that bird. And now I got this one from that same spot. And I said, screw it. I'm going to mount this bird. I don't care. May probably never do another one. And the only other mount I have is this one behind me here. That's more like a breast mount with a fan and the beard and everything, That's the one I got in Maine. But I'm like, screw it. It'll look good up at camp. I'm going to gobbling off a tree limb and stuff, with the beard hanging. So should be pretty cool.
Did you ever mount one warm?
You got to mount them warm.
You can't. It's not the right answer.
No.
But it is. It is, but it isn't.
So is that mount behind you there? Is that the actual bird, or is that like one of the things you would buy from the store and just put your fan on it?
No, that's the actual bird, the breast and everything.
Gotcha.
I think the head is a replica head, but I don't know if you can see it or not or well enough, but it's I don't know if it's the head and the breast. The head is replica. Then you got the fan and you got the spurs on the bottom there with a shotgun shell.
Nice.
Yeah, there's like I say, that's a replica head. But it's kind of cool. I got it up there, and it's kind of got some different color in the beard. Some cinnamon and cinnamon red and black and stuff in the middle of it.
Nutmeg, anything?
Fire crotch.
Parsley, rosemary.
The curtains match the drapes? Did they?
A little cracked red pepper, a little bit there. So was that a moose paddle there that I saw up on the wall?
Yeah, probably pretty near.
I think that's a good little segue for what we wanted to touch base with you on here next. So to finish the turkey story, congratulations, and hope that bird holds up here for the rest of the weekend for you.
I got a quick question on that bird.
What'd they do?
Were you?
No.
Did we lose him?
Oh no.
Oh, there you go. We're cool.
I didn't catch the beginning of the story, but were you on this same bird for multiple days or a week or?
Well, it hadn't been roosting right there. They normally roost right there, and they're roosting in other spots. In areas I was going to go with, other guys were going at. It was just north of the property that we have exclusive, and I was going to go after them, but I saw other vehicles there. So I don't want to be a jerk about it. So we stayed out, and then I think it was just the pressure brought them right back down and roost in the same spot that they typically always do. So we would just go and listen or watch the fields. And my buddy Tyler called and said, hey, I'm seeing that bird out in the field. He's strutting 7:30. He got a couple of hens. I go, damn, they're back. So they got to be roosting those trees. So they were there last year in that spot down around that river. And, like I say, I don't know if it's the same bird or not, but it was a good mature bird. So we set up on him that Saturday, and he walked off, couldn't get him. And then they had a lot of good hunts and been around a lot of gobbling birds this year. And I'm just like, I want to kill this freaking bird. He's smart and he's wary and he needs to die.
Yeah. It's just cool. I think it's because Uncle Chris, he was on that bird he was on that for several days. You guys had a couple hunts on that bird, and Jimmy, the bird you got, and a lot of the guys you've had on Breeding' 'em Radio, it's a lot of the same story. A lot of the people putting a lot of time in on a single bird or a group of birds and ended up capitalizing. So maybe that's normal,
Yeah.
but it's cool capturing everybody's stories, and there's a lot of similarity there, especially late in the season where people are catching up with those birds that they were after and just couldn't get the shot on them.
Yeah, that the one behind the house that Chris got, I put a lot of time in there, and of course it's a spot that we don't have first dibs on, so to speak. So we have to make sure nobody else is there. But fortunately, they honestly, I don't know how they weren't getting that bird. I mean, you got to be a little creative, and you have to get in there ass early in the morning. And I'd go in the middle of the day on the weekends and pick a spot. Where can you sit? And then what's the shortest route in? And okay, I'd mark it on the field edge, because you go in the dark with no light on, and then you see, oh, there's a hen to our right 20 yards. And we had to do a couple of setups to get closer and closer. That one took us several hunts. That was a pretty cool hunt. I wish I had a chance to get on that call with Chris and Joe when they got on, but that was a great bird too. His spurs were bigger than the one I got. They were, I think they were inch and a quarter or better spurs, inch and 5/8.
3/8.
Inch and 3/8 were they?
Yeah.
Fuck, they're probably the best spurs I've ever seen. I'm not a world-class turkey hunter, but I've seen a lot of birds, and they're the best spurs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I told them to mount the fucker. Warm.
I'll walk away. But I think that right there, I want to just identify something you said, and I've never thought about that. I mean, I've maybe thought about it, but never really consciously thought about it going in on the middle of the day, not while you're hunting, while you figure the birds are off doing something else. And if you have an idea what they're doing, pick a spot. And, that I got a shot at that bird last weekend, and I had been spending so much time, and I've hunted a couple times in that corner. So I knew exactly where I already had a tree that was cleaned off and ready to be sat down at. So, that's a great tip for people, that if you're on birds, when they're in the area, get in there on a midday or in the afternoon when you're not really going to disturb them too much on their routine, and get a couple spots set up so that when you're ready to get in there close, you can. That's a great tip.
Yeah. Yeah. It's honestly, I've always, you kind of joke about it. We kill birds at, 10 o'clock and later, 9, 10 o'clock and later, we should sleep in and go out at 9 or 10 o'clock. There's something about being in the woods in the morning when it wakes up. And I've been fortunate. I've had a lot of setups, a lot of last 10 years or better, where I've been able to sit there and watch birds gobble on the roost and wake up and watch them spitting and drumming on the roost. And it's so cool. I took Rachel out there, my wife, in the past, and she's like, wow, that was really cool before season opened. We went out and just set up quiet. But I would go out in the daytime, middle of the day, and I'd pick a tree, and I'd cut little saplings down, I'd move all their stuff away so I know right where I want to be. I did that with Chris. We went out there one morning. We hunted, and then I came home early that day, or maybe I had the day off. But and I said, I'm going to go out there. It was like 11:30. I gave a couple calls, see if they're in the area. Nothing was there, so I went, picked another spot closer, picked a way in, and moved some stuff around the tree. But it was tough going in there without a light. You look at it in the daytime, you're like, this won't be bad. In the dark, dude, it's freaking hard. You're trying to make no noise. And I knew where I wanted to be, and it worked out so good, that setup with Chris. I thought there was an opening there. I said, we're whispering, like, you said here, I think I wanted him to shoot. Didn't even want to shoot. And, I always want to shoot, but I want to give him first chance. And it just worked out great. The thing was gobbling, and he flew right down. It was like a little strutting zone. I was calling, and he started coming into us, and his head up, and Chris was thinking he might have been getting spooked, and he popped him. But back to what you said, I do that a lot. I go pick a spot in the daytime and clean it all out and pick in a route, because I know I'm going to be right close to the birds,
Yeah.
So
I've definitely had a couple of setups in the dark this year where, it starts to get light out and you're like, God, this is not right. We're not in a good spot. This looked better in the dark. Now all of a sudden you're too far out on the edge of the field, or you just don't have the cover, or you're in too much cover. You don't have any shots. So I've definitely done that a little bit too, where you kind of see what the turkeys do the one day, and then the way we did it is we were doing it before we left. We'd see what the turkeys do, and then we'd go to a tree, or we'd go to where the turkeys were and look for the best setup.
Yeah.
And then the turkeys would do something different on us the next day, so it didn't matter that we did that anyways. But
turkeys never do the same thing twice.
No, never. I heard that on a hunting show once, I think.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But no, like this morning, I was walking in the dark, and I had in my head what I was going to do, and it wasn't. I got down there, and I'm like, "There's nowhere to sit." I knew exactly where I wanted to be, and there was nowhere to sit. So it was definitely a difficult setup. But if you would have gone in and a day prior or something in the middle of the day and made that spot sittable, it would have been a comfortable sit to watch everything that I watched. But instead, it was like a struggle the whole time I was sitting there to even enjoy it. But
that's why I say if you're not comfortable in the first couple of minutes, you're going to be in agony by the time that morning hunt's over. You gotta be a little comfortable. You gotta be, or it's going to suck. I think anybody who's turkey hunted much has gone through that. But
I was actually in like shoulder high shit that was like around a telephone pole, and it just happened to be that there was like a lane into the telephone pole, and then it was just like the telephone pole and the lane out. And I'm like, I got in there and took my vest off and set it down up against the pole. And I was sitting there, and then it started getting light out, and the gobbler started gobbling. They were on the wrong side of the pole. So I ended up kneeling there. And then after a while, I was like realizing they weren't going to come running right in. So I had to like adjust slowly and just mat a bunch of more shit down so I could actually sit down against the pole. But
I thought you weren't going to tell your story, Jim.
I'm not. That's all I'm saying. Just to relate to this situation, if that pole was prepped, it would have been a great spot to sit.
There you go. Nice. Before we go to your segue, Jim, I think we need to address Uncle Tim's his findings this spring. He kind of, if you're okay to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, is that something you want to share publicly?
Yeah. That's fine. It's interesting.
So what'd you find?
It hasn't officially been released, but I think we all know who it is. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can talk about it if you guys want.
So what had happened?
What had happened?
Well, me and my buddy Tyler on the same piece of property, we deer hunt. We were doing shed hunting, and I don't remember the day. It was pre-corona, so it had to have been late February.
Early March, yeah. Because I talked to you right before the outdoor show. That's when that all happened.
Yeah. We were looking for sheds, and we were just wrapping up in some red brush, that thick stuff, and we just kind of split up and, didn't really know where each other were. I mean, we knew we were probably within 50, 100 yards of each other. And I got down to the bottom area and started going back up in, and I see my buddy Tyler step out, and he's just standing there. I walk up to him, and he's like, come here. He's got this funny look on his face. He goes, I got to show you something that's fucked up. Something like that. And I go, all right. And I'm like, what could you possibly show me? I'm thinking, I'm following him. He's not talking. And he can be a ball breaker and stuff. So I'm like, and we start walking through this brush before we stop, or before we get out of the brush. He stops, turns around, he goes, it's a human body. I go, what? And he goes, yeah. And we go further and step out, and there's like a pair of jeans, kind of all frayed and tattered from weather and I think bugs and stuff. And there's just like somebody had laid down. I mean, there was a shoe still on one foot, and then the other shoe was off a couple feet. There was no rib cage or arms or anything there, but the skull was probably 10 foot away or something. And I'm looking at it going, then you can kind of see through the jeans a little bit, and you're seeing bones, and I see the skull, and I'm like, holy shit. And we're just looking at each other like, this is like real. It's just, like CSI or some show where they see, the hikers finding a body, and like, we're like, wow. And I went up a little closer and to look at the skull, because I was seeing like the bottom of it, because the jaw was going off. It was up. And I'm like, yeah, that's a human. Those are teeth. That's
Jesus.
and we both just kind of like, we got to call somebody, you know. We start walking out, and that first thing I was thinking, well, I'm like, who is it? You know, could have been a college student that got, you know, I don't know, ran off drunk or something and died. And then we got thinking about it. We're like, you know, they never found that guy who ran off, that you know, shot at the police officer, and I think he shot back. So we got down and made the phone call at the people on the property, the Wadsworths there. And so obviously you can imagine what happened. They just swarmed the place there. And Tyler went back up to show them where it was, and they just kept getting investigators and all sorts of people there. And they went up and started looking around, and you know, it's a big freaking deal. They've been looking for the guy. Well, it was over a year, I think it was, wasn't it?
It's
a year and a half.
It'll be 2 years this summer. Yeah.
That had to have been a year and a half, I think.
I think it was like summer of 18 that they did the pullover. You know, the cops pulled him over in Geneseo. He got out and got a gun, had a gun in his hand, and he shot at the officer.
I don't think he shot at the officer. He pulled the gun, and then the officer shot at him, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. He did point it at him, and then he ran off, and his girlfriend ran off, and he went in the cornfield, and they went down in, and it was the next block north of where we hunt. And they apparently said they surrounded it, so it would be, you know, what's that, 20A, 63, the river, and then 390, kind of that quadrant there. And they got it. They figured got him surrounded in there. But to me, I mean, it doesn't take that long for him to run down and then cut north, and that's what he did. He crossed 20A, and he went over in that spot there right by, there's a tree stand there. I've hunted a couple times. And I was right within 20, 30 yards of him the whole time, and I didn't know it. But it's kind of a fixed spot there that you don't want to walk in there when, you know, in hunting season, because they bed in there. And but I know I walked down through there during late muzzleloader season, but you get a little snow on the ground, you know, it kind of covered up, and you're not really looking for anything like that, so you wouldn't see it. But the blue jeans stuck out to us so much, you know, and his shoes he wore, I'm impressed. His shoes held up really well. I don't know what kind they were, but
they're probably
that weather. They look
probably the New Balance 509 dad shoe, you know.
Right.
I think it was. But so as it went on, they were camped out there day and night looking for stuff, and you're like, okay, so he's dead there. What happened, you know? And they didn't really officially say that's who it was, but they kind of indicated to us that, you know, unofficially that's what they thought it was. And so a couple of days later, I get a call from a guy, as an investigator at work. I'm in Geneva working at NICEAG. And he says, hey, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more. When, you know, are you free? And I'm like, well, no, I got a meeting, and I got to do this or that. And I said, can I call you when I'm done? He's like, yeah. And I said, you haven't got to come over here. I'll meet you, you know, at my house in Lima. I said, you're in Livingston County. I hate to make you drive all the way here. And he's like, okay. Time I get out of the meeting, an hour later, I see a text. I'm at the Wegmans in Geneva. Come meet me. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay. So I was down there with him for 45 minutes or an hour. He was just like, you know, tell me what happened. You know, tell me, just run through everything. What happened? And I'm like, what the heck is he looking for? You know, like, so I told him the whole story, and then, you know, which is, you know, we went shed hunting and circled around and came down to it. And he goes, did you guys touch the body or see anything or do anything? You know, like, and like, well, my buddy kind of nudged it with his foot when he first got to it. He thought there's just a pair of pants there in the woods that somebody, what he thinks. He goes, I thought somebody shit their pants and took them off and left them there. He's like, who the fuck is leaving their shitty pants here? You know, that's the way his mind works, you know. So I go, no, we didn't touch anything. And he's like going, rubbing his face. I'm like thinking, what are you looking for? He's like, I go, what is it? What? I forget how he finally come out with it. He goes, did you find a gun? I go, oh. I go, no. I go, I didn't find a gun. I go, you can't find the handgun. And he goes, no. He goes, we found a shell casing, but we cannot find the gun. He goes, he offed himself. He goes, but we got to find the gun. So and at the same time they're questioning me, they're in Honeoye where Tyler was doing a job, questioning him, another investigator, just so we couldn't probably talk and compare stories in case we were lying about it. I'm like, I was thinking, no, I wouldn't. If I found a gun, I would tell you. But if I found the gun, I'd find the body. But, you know, animals and critters obviously had taken the body. It's slightly downhill. They found bones and everything within 20, 30 yards in the brush, just scattered about. And I want to ask the guy, I still have his card. Like, I'm thinking he shot himself. Maybe it stayed in his hand and rigor mortis set in. And then, you know, fox or coyote grabs it, not to be gross, but grabs a hand or arm and drags it off. And, you know, but, you know, the shell casing was right there in the vicinity of close where he found dead. But the gun, it took them like 2 weeks to find the gun.
Oh, they did find it.
Yeah. Yep. He finally found it. And
it was in the area?
Yeah. Yep.
Holy
downhill.
Shit. Wow.
Of it. Yeah. So I got it. It's been long enough. I should be able to call the guys, but you know, they haven't done a public, I thought they're going to make, you know, like a little media announcement, you know, we've identified, because they said we don't want to say till the dental records come back. And obviously it's all things point to that guy. But you know what's crazy to me is that he got away. He got out of the area, you know, where they're looking for him, and he ended up shooting himself.
Yeah.
You know, he had. I was just surprised. Let's say he figured, well, they're going to catch up to me. They're going to put dogs in my track. I'm screwed. I just might as well kill myself. You know. He got out of the area where they thought he was, and he. I mean, I heard rumors, you know, unofficially, the guys, the sheriffs doing while they were searching for him, they heard a lone gunshot. And it's just surprising me how nobody looked across the road with dogs or anything, you know?
Right.
Fuck, I mean, he was 200 yards off the road, maybe 3, but 200, and not that far even, you know? There's a tree that offered shade, and he just was sitting under there, and I don't know, he just figured, well, they're going to get me. But, you know, he could have got away. I figured he's down south or somewhere now, you know?
That's insane.
I figured he's either in the river or he hopped a train out of there or something, but.
That's what I figured. Exactly what I figured. He tried to cross the river and he got swept away or drowned, or, you know. I mean, I don't think the guy was any great athlete, but he got away and he ran down and got across the road. I mean, I saw the video of him. He didn't look like I don't think he's running any marathons, but, you know, it wouldn't take you long to get out and across the road. It's kind of, I'm not a police officer, and they, you know, I know they do their job and they're great, but it just surprised me that nobody ever looked over there, you know?
Well, it's a learning experience. I mean, thank God the guy didn't get away, and he didn't, you know, he's not out committing more crimes. And I'm sure that with all those sort of things that happen, like, it's just like tracking an animal. I mean, how many times have we gone to track an animal and, you know, you're like, oh, I thought I heard something over there, but there's no way that deer went that way, you know? So I'm sure they're going to learn when they certainly confirm it's him, and I'm sure they're going to learn from that and, you know, get better the next time they're going after a situation like that. But those Livingston County boys have had some wild shit in the last couple of years. Jesus.
I was going to say, between that nut and the tractor trailer here the other night and this, they've had a freaking interesting year or two, you know? Yeah. So,
they weren't letting that guy get away.
No, you know what? That ended the best way it could have too. I didn't, you know, be funny, but he was shooting. He wanted to kill or hurt people. It's the best way it could have ended right there. You know,
it's insane.
Same way as that guy I found. You know what? You know, if he's going to be that way, and he had a record and he was wanted, then you know what? It ended the best way. Nobody else got hurt. So.
Yeah. No doubt.
No doubt. So.
All right, pertinent criminal investigation is case closed. Nice work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wild one.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Yeah, we're for hire. We are we're a for-profit organization. If you need us to walk your woods and look for things you've been missing, More than happy.
I did ask the sheriff's department. I know a couple of guys that are hunters. I'm like, during this process, I'm like, do you find any sheds? I'm like, if you find any sheds, you got to give it up, man. You got to give it up.
Yeah.
This guy's like, no, we didn't find any, but
probably got them all sitting on the dash of their cars.
I know. I found a real giant set there, like, God, it's probably 140 and 150 is a match set in that brush a year ago, or no, it'll be 2 years ago now, something like that. But yeah, so I said, you better give it up if you find any sheds. And he said, no, I don't believe him.
So do we have time here to touch base on some of your guided hunts that you've been on?
Yeah, I mean, we can. I know it's like, we can do a little bit, yeah. I mean, do you feel like, or do you want to make it something big we can jump into?
I think we could scratch the surface maybe a little bit here, and then if we want
let's do that. Let's just scratch let's tickle it. That and then we can. I think it would be good to have a full on conversation about it, and maybe we can get Woody on sometime too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to tell. I've had a lot of fun going with different outfitters over the years, and that turkey behind me here on the wall. I got that with Woody from Woody's Guide Service. Dan Woods, his name. We doubled up. He got one, and I got one. Turkey hunting in Maine, I'll just say real quick, there's turkeys everywhere down there. And we drive around after the morning hunt, you can get something, you see turkeys in a field, you go up and knock on the door, like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, you just go after turkeys anywhere you want. The homeowners and property owners are really cool. But so I got that in Maine because I got to know Woody, because I used to work with an outfitter from Canada and doing outdoor shows. I met Woody and several other people, and I'm pretty fortunate to meet a lot of outfitters, and I've hunted in several different provinces in Canada, Manitoba, Quebec, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and even New York, not New York, in the United States, U.S. I've hunted, not as many. I've hunted turkeys in Ohio, hunted New Mexico for mule deer, Montana for elk. I don't know. I've been fortunate. And Maine, I've hunted Maine for bear, and I've killed a spring bear in Maine. Probably one of the few people, not to sound like I'm bragging, but people can say that because there's no spring bear season for hunting in Maine, except where I was. It's Indian tribal property. I got hooked up with an outfitter who had permission because the guy who worked with him was an Indian. I can't remember what tribe it was, but they allowed it. So I got a bear in Maine in the spring, which is very, very difficult to do legally, let's say.
Yeah.
So
how long ago was that?
That was when I was hunting, or filming and stuff with Steve. So that was probably, it had been like 09 or 10 or something like that. Somewhere I got that on video, I got a lot of good video that's never been publicized.
It'd be fun if you would want to. I know you have a lot of good video. It'd be fun to get some of those and put them up on our YouTube channel and get them out there so some people can watch them and enjoy them.
Yeah,
I can remember watching some of your hunts from Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and stuff like that. Like, you got some good stuff on film.
Yeah, I've got that. I did a hunt with Woody with dogs. I never did a dog hunt before for bear. It was pretty fun, actually. Very fast-paced, moving and going. We got like the whole thing on video. Did really well. It's pretty cool. The first and only time I did it with dogs, I had a short period of time. I was changing jobs, so I said I better go now because I won't be able to do anything for a year and a half. So I went up there and did a fun hunt with him with dogs. First day out, we got a bear and got the whole hunt on video. I haven't done anything with that, yeah, I really enjoyed hunting and going out with different outfitters. I kind of figured as long as I could afford to do it, I wanted to I didn't want to wait till I was too old and I couldn't get around, didn't have good health and stuff. But I mean, knock on wood, now I can I'll still do it, you know. And I'm trying to put together a Colorado hunt for next coming fall, you know, 2021. But and then, you know, every year, as you guys know, I go up to Maine. I've kind of hooked up with Dan Wood from Woody's Outfitters, and Rachel and I go up, and now that we've worked with them and help them, we kind of stay there and hunt for free. But we do work for them. She cooks, and I do baiting, and it's a lot of fun. I'd love to get something going like that around here, but it's a tough area to do guiding in. You know, I had my guide's license. I let it expire because I wasn't doing anything with it, but you know, I thought about doing it again. You know, getting something going for turkey or deer, you know, maybe use my camp up north, you know.
Dude, I'll tell you what. So this past week, Dallas and I went down to Pennsylvania and did a workshop with a guy by the name of Steve Shirk, and he'll be on. So this podcast right now will be out this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday we'll have Steve on, and he's a young guy. He's 34 years old, hunts all public land in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he's got his own guide service, and he's the only show in town. And
really?
And he is having a riot with it. Young guy, you know, with a family, taking care of everything.
Yeah.
You know, he owns a landscape business on the side, or that's his main income, and this is just kind of his side gig. But like, I'm listening to what he's doing, and I'm like, I know there's a need for that around New York. I think that, you know, maybe you don't need to book yourself out so you don't have any time for yourself, but you know, you could book a few clients each spring or each summer or each fall, I mean, for deer, and you know, you could hook people up for deer and for turkey, and you know, help get people started. That's what people are looking for, you know. Like you said, you have the camp there.
Yeah, it's, you know what, you know, I've priced it out because I was looking, okay, if I was going to do this, and it depends if you provide the lodging or they provide their own lodging. But what people, as much as the hunt and learning to hunt and getting put on animals, hopefully, if you know the stars align, people love the social aspect. They want to go stay at. If you can have a camp for them to stay at, then just get the whole vibe. Where we're here to hunt. This is a hunting camp. Even if I don't see anything, I'm having fun staying here. You know, you hunt, you shoot the shit with your buddies when you come back, whether it be a morning hunt or afternoon hunt. It's as much, to me anyways, and I think that it is that way with a lot of people, it's getting out and staying in an enjoyable camp and getting the whole experience. You know, you could stay at a hotel room, and then I'll meet you in the morning, I'll pick you up, but it's not quite.
Same. No, it's
not
a
the
hunting
full.
camp.
Yeah. You know, like I got think you got provided a camp. I think it's people will do, like, if you're providing the camp, maybe 150 a day, I think. But you provide a place for them to stay, and maybe you provide them dinner, and they do their own or something like that. You could break it up, but you know, if you had a spot for them to fish during the day and take them out to roost the birds, if you're doing turkey hunting, give them the whole scenario, and that, you know, take somebody for 3 days, you know, and do it for $450.
Yeah.
But and if you're into it, like you're talking, like the guy you mentioned, or myself, or you guys, I enjoy taking people out. You know, when I was doing it with Steve, you know, bear hunting and moose hunting and stuff, it's fun to take people along who's like never done it before, and you can tell them what to expect and how things are. And you know, Jimmy, there, you went up to Nova Scotia that one year with me, and you got the taste of that. You know, so I think you had fun.
Oh, that was a riot. That was a great trip, and like you know, midday, I mean, we were running around. I think I went around with Steve for a day, and we did bait sites and stuff, and it was just a lot of fun to go out and experience that. And there's just a ton of bears up in Nova Scotia. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, there is. I know. I wish I could get a piece of property or get set up there. It's like an untapped resource there, man.
Yeah, because
that's kind of cool. Like, you don't hear anybody who goes to Nova Scotia to hunt, really. You don't.
No. And that day that I shot mine, that second to last day of our hunt, you had shot one too. And in Nova Scotia, you have to, if you're transporting an animal, you know, that you've harvested, you have to stay in the vehicle with it.
So that's right.
I got my bear. He came and picked me up And when he picked me up, he was like, "Oh, Tim shot one too. We gotta go over and give him a hand." So like we get over to your spot, and I'm like jumping out of the truck, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We're going to get Tim's bear." He's like, "No, you gotta stay here with your animal." I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" I'm like, "I can't even go in." He's like, "No, you gotta stay here with your animal." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah.
So I got back in the pickup truck, and somewhere I have footage, but there was, I think, 7 to 8 bears in the blueberry field next to the truck while I was sitting there waiting for you guys.
I remember that video.
Yeah, that was a fantastic spot there. All those blueberry.
One of them was a monster. That one was like 500 pounds plus. He was huge.
Yeah, they had some big freaking bears up there. A lot of good food source and stuff.
I was happy with the little one I took.
You tell them, well, how about your blind? Remember, Jimmy, you were hunting the ground blind for a couple of days, and you're like, screw this. After he would come in and find it stomped down and leveled by a bear.
Yeah.
You know.
So the first day that we hunted, we went to go. He went to drop us all off, so he'd take a truckload of us in a 4-wheeler, and he'd stop at a spot, run somebody in, come back out, take somebody to the next spot, and we were on the way to drop the first guy off. And he was talking to him about the blind. He's like, "Well, I'm going to have to get in there with you and make sure the blind's still up because they've been knocking it down every time I go into bait. So I got to reset it." And I'm like, "Oh, this is great." And then he's like, "Jimmy, you shouldn't have to worry." He's like, "Yours hasn't been messed with yet." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we drive like, I don't know what that was, like 3/4 of a mile or a mile back into the woods on a 4-wheeler. And he shuts the 4-wheeler off and he goes, "Son of a bitch." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "They knocked your blind down." I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic."
Yeah.
So we get it reset. He runs down, baits the bait, and then he comes back up. And I think I was unzipping one of the side windows. And he was like, no. He's like, "No, you can't do that." He's like, he's like, "Just the small window to the bait here. That's all you can have open." I'm like, "So I can't see if anything's behind me or on my sides?" And he's like, "Nope, you gotta leave it closed or they'll see through it." I'm like, "Son of a bitch." So I'm sitting there just watching the bait. I think the first night I had a sow and cub come in, or sow and 2 cubs. Yeah. And she did. She walked right by the barrel. The 2 cubs were playing around in it. I have video of all that too. That was really cool. I really got to find that video, but she walked right by and disappeared, and the 2 cubs stopped and were playing in the bait. And I'm like,
"That's cool."
I'm like, "Great, where'd she go?" And all of a sudden she pops out like 20 yards in front of the blind, just looking me down. I'm like, "Oh my God, she's going to freaking walk up here and screw with me." And she didn't. She walked away. It was like she knew you were there, and she walked away.
Yeah.
And then the next night he was like, "There's a really big bear coming into this bait." He was like, "It's coming down the right side of you, down the gully." And then it pops out to the bait down the bottom. And the second night I was in there, I heard something coming down my side down into the gully, and then it never showed up at the bait. And I was like,
"Wow."
I was like, "All right, Steve," I go, it seems like a really good spot, but I'm not enjoying myself sitting in this blind that's been mauled by bears. So he was like, "Well, they can climb trees too." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I can see them coming."
Right.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Yeah. It is funny. I've hunted a couple ground blinds like that, and you don't think about it when you get in there and you can't see behind you. You just see forward. It is a different feeling. I gotta admit, it's different.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Tim, have you ever thought about doing spring bear like out west, like going out to Wyoming or Montana?
Yeah. I thought about Idaho. That's a long way out, but they got a lot of color phase out in Idaho.
Yeah.
So, I would like to try something like that. It'd be quite a trip distance-wise, but, I have looked into something like that. I would like to try that.
Yeah. There's a group of guys I follow, the working class bow hunter, and right now they're on a hunt out to, I believe it's Wyoming, western Wyoming. An outfitted, backcountry hunt. They're getting horsed in, and so I've been in touch with them, and I'm gonna try to get them on when they get back, after they get back and have a chance to publish their own stuff on their channel. But I want to kind of hear what that experience is like, because it's spot and stalk style, spring bear hunting, and that sounds pretty awesome. Like I don't know. Like it's
Yeah.
funny. I if you would have asked me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if I would have had any interest in hunting bears out of state, I'd say no. But after, being out west, deer and elk hunting and seeing some of that
Right.
terrain and seeing bears up in those high mountains, it's like that would be freaking awesome to try to get a bear down in some of that type of country.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all the bear hunting that we do around here, if it's around camp here, we're basically sitting there waiting for deer, and if a bear comes along, we'll shoot it. But if we're up north on our bear hunt, it's like normally you're in such,
so thick.
The woods is so full of foliage still, and everything's so thick up there that everything's like an anticipation waiting game. So to be, out in the mountains and see a bear and just go after it, like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to see or watch a lot of those videos with up in British Columbia with Jim Shockey and his outfitting business, and I really wanted to try to get up there, but that's so expensive. I mean, it was expensive a while ago when he got, had his thing going, but you can get 2 bear, I believe it is, up there in some of those places, but it's a long trip up there and it's pricey, man.
Yeah.
That's real pricey. I'd like to find something, like you're saying out west, something we could, hook up with an outfitter. It's a little more affordable and stuff, but I love hunting bears. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to try the dog one with Woody.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to let you know when we're going up this year. I'm trying to think. Dogs might be open.
Jimmy, you're not.
This year ain't gonna happen for me.
You're gonna have a radius around your house that you're allowed to leave, and that's about it.
Yeah. I meant not this year. I meant another year.
Yeah, there you go.
I forgot. Yeah, you got some important business to tend to.
Yeah, I could probably work in next year, but not this year.
Yeah.
We're talking 5-year plans here, Timbo. We're both in
I hear you.
a bit of a situation.
Yeah. No, that's good. You have priorities. Everybody's got to have their priorities.
Yep.
I
am hoping to, I've never, Jimmy's been on it's interesting because with our family, Uncle Chris went on his first hunt out west and it was all public land, self-guided. You have a ton of experience, and we're just scratching the surface and definitely want to talk more in depth about, if you are looking for an outfitter, how do you select the right one and how do you know? Because there's good, bad out there like there is with everything.
Yeah.
But, that's what's kind of unique about our family and our hunting group is that there's a bunch of different experience as far as different types of hunts. So, you bring a whole nother facet to that with, you've been all over the place with different outfitters and have so many different experiences that, that's pretty sweet to have that, as a resource for us and now for our listeners of, how do you pick these things? How do you make these decisions? And, go that way. But I'm hoping next fall that maybe I can snake my way into being able to go out west with you guys and kind of holding that card in my pocket. But that's my hope, is to be able to go out there with you and Uncle Chris, and Dad seems like he's interested right now. We'll see what happens this time next year, but
that would be awesome. Love it if whoever can go, and then maybe do it again, after that sometime if other people want to do it again a year or 2 after. But I'd love to talk to you about outfitting stuff, because I've had great experiences and I've had some bad experiences. I got some really bad stories I can tell you, things that went wrong, and some stuff you can't predict and just happens. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've had fun. I try to have fun with every trip, and it's not about getting an animal. It's about the adventure too,
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely something that, I just hit the timing right with that one with you to go, but that's the only time I've been on one. And it was a lot of fun because it was pretty much, there was 4 of us from our group or something that went. So it was a good time to go do a trip and do something different, and to be able to show up and have everything taken care of for you.
I tell you, it's pretty cool when you just, somebody else got your food and they got a spot picked for you, and and then you just concentrate on relaxing and having your gear ready and, make sure you're shooting good. And it's pretty cool. It's a nice little experience, for sure. But everybody should do it if they can.
So I guess kind of starting to wrap this conversation up, we very well may get you on again before the fall, but in case we don't, what do you have planned for this upcoming, bear and deer season? What do you got on the slate for September, October, and through November, December?
Right now, going up to Maine to Woody's, I believe the third week of their season. So it's, I think it's going to be right around the weekend I'll be coming back. It'll be the weekend we got to run the Muddy Sneaker at Hightower there. So I think it's the third week in September, maybe, or second week. I forget now. But we'll do that, and then the following week I think we'll be going up north for the early bear season. Stay up at my camp, and all you guys who want to come up who can get away, we'll do that for a long weekend. And then I usually we'll start bow hunting, but then I'll go up and do the early muzzleloader. I go up there for a long weekend. I've done the week, which is a lot of fun up at camp. Because you can, 1 week, I think it's 7 or 8 days, you can hunt with a muzzleloader. You can hunt deer, buck or doe or a bear. So you got that option.
That's the New York the northern zone, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I did a week before, Rachel and I went up and stayed up there for a week. It was pretty fun. And I didn't get anything, but there's a couple days I blew off hunting to spend time, with her, and we went up to Old Forge and had a couple beers. And of course, the next day you check your trail cam, and guess what I missed? I had a buck walking by my stand at 4 o'clock, but it's fun. We had a good time. So, but I'll be back into just hunting New York the rest of the time. I don't think I'll be doing anything else. Just doing our archery and gun, and then muzzleloader here local. So
I've had a lot of fun the last few years kicking that. It's almost like a kickoff to deer season, because it's normally when deer season used to start was around October 15th. And, we got a couple weekends of archery under our belt now in the southern zone, but the northern zone has already been going for, I think they start a week before us, but they have a chopped up season. Like I think they only have a week or two of bow, and then they go muzzleloader, and then they go rifle the rest of the way.
Yeah. It's kind of different, but
it's fun to get up there early and put a muzzleloader in your hand and get out there and start wandering around.
Yeah, and the weather's still good. It's enjoyable to be out. It's and you got a chance of seeing a bear. Getting a bear. So it's pretty cool. So that's what I'll be doing this fall, and then I'm really looking forward to the following fall, getting away to Colorado. So see what happens.
Yes, sir.
Well, why don't we shut this thing down so we all can get up at 3:15 and go whack some turkeys?
Yeah, Sarah said to me when I was. Sarah said to me when I was.
Sleep in 2 minutes, I can get 5 hours.
Oh yeah, you talk. Is it your turn to talk or my turn to talk?
Jesus Christ.
Go ahead. It's your show.
Yeah, Sarah said to me, she's like, "Oh, well, Jimmy and Mike are getting up to go turkey hunting at 4 a.m. So I guess I'll wake you up so you can feel like you're with them, and I'll give you the baby." Like, oh, okay, perfect. So.
Hey, no.
Yeah. No. I said that's not funny. I don't think that's funny. If I can't.
You should have said yes and then just wandered out of the house after she woke you up.
Yeah, you said you were getting me up to go hunting. But and definitely in closing too, Uncle Tim, you've had a hell of a 12 months, or 2 seasons, I guess, whatever you want to say, with shooting your best buck ever this past fall, and then shooting your best turkey this spring. So, you got quite the expectations to live up to come this fall. So I wish the best of luck to you.
Yeah, I think it's going to, in a nutshell, I tell everybody, my seasons are going to suck probably. I'm going to, but, I can't complain. I've had a great season. And how it's skill, but it's luck. And, there's luck. You got to be there the right day, the right stand, the right time. But, I'm fortunate to get the nice buck, and I got just pretty good buck with my bow, and then the turkey. So I can live off that. If I go dry and don't have great hunts, I'm okay. I got good memories,
Yeah, and a cold case fugitive. Don't forget that. So it's quite
I got that in the back pocket.
Yeah. Nice. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, you take it easy and let us know what have you heard when you're going to get that deer back? It's going to be a while, you think?
I got the rack still, but he said he'd let me know when the Cape gets back and he wants to start mounting. I kind of put off. I'm so happy to have the buck. It's just an awesome buck that I do want to get it scored, but I wasn't pushing. Then when I started I'm going to go get it scored, enter COVID-19,
Right.
I mean, I could probably maybe find somebody now who'll be cool enough to score,
Call Jeff Fox.
Worthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. He lives down south. Jeff Fox lives over. He drives bus for Dad, but he's a scorer.
Oh, okay.
Do you know Jeff Fox?
Jeff Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about Jeff Fox.
But he's a certified scorer, so it'd be good to get him to put a tape to it.
I think I talked to you about that over snowmobile season there.
Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, you're right. Wonder if he'd be cool enough to do it now,
He sure would.
All right.
He don't care. Reach out to him on Facebook. Yep. Reach out to him on Facebook. He's active on there. Reach out to him.
Yeah, I should. I'd love to get that on there and get it scored. Love to see what that's going to be at. So.
What are you thinking, like 130, 135 inch?
I've been told more than that, but I don't know.
That deer, he's 145, 150, my guess.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I mean, I'm bummed that one brow tine broke off, and I'm not just because those are I've been dying to get a deer. I always wanted to get a deer with a big bladed, gnarly brow tines, and one of them broke off. I'm like, it's still an awesome deer, but I'm just whatever it scores, it scores. It's such a cool rack with the tines that long, 13, 14-inch tines and everything, and so yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. You also got to wonder with a deer like that, who the hell was stupid enough to fight him and break his brow tine off?
I know. Yeah, I gotta get some cameras back out early and see what else is roving around there. There was a lot of nice bucks out there this year. I'm hoping some made it through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's shut this thing down and go feed them in the morning.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Good luck. Let me know how you make out, and congratulations on your bird.
Yeah, thanks. You too. And I want to hear the story about your bird. If you want me to interview you, let me know.
Well, the thing is you'd have to listen to our podcast because I'm not going to just tell it to you.
Well, okay, fine. I'll listen to your podcast.
Yeah, download it. We need the support from our family, for God's sakes, Timbo. God.
Hey, I just learned how to get on a Zoom call about an hour ago. So
the next step is downloading the Pert Near Outdoors podcast. That's the next step.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I admit. Yes.
So I think Tim's been on the podcast 3 times and he's never listened to one.
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I just don't know how yet.
I think we need an educational video for the elderly, I think is what we need to do.
Maybe we could put together a spoof video of showing people how to use the podcast app.
We could use.
You could do that.
Do you prefer Braille or what do you need?
You just talk slow and loud. That's all.
Rub your face on it and see if you can figure out where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you rubbing your face on?
Nothing. All right, let's wrap this shit up. Jesus.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
All right. See you, boys. Good luck in the morning.
Tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, you too.